What's it like to attend a Bickertonite General Conference? Welcome to Gospel Tangents, the best source for Mormon history, science, and theology, and first daily Mormon history podcast. I'm Rick Bennett. In our final conversation with Josh Gehly, an evangelist in the Church of Jesus Christ, as well as the author of Witnessing Miracles, we're going to talk more about general conferences. We're going to talk about the difference between LDS, Community of Christ, and Bickertonite General Conferences. So you won't want to miss this conversation. Check it out. Now, do you have what we would call a general conference so in our church, we do it every 6 months. Community of Christ, we do it every 2 or 3 years, usually 3 years, but
yeah, every 6 months.
Yours is every 6 months, April and October?
Yeah. Our spring conference is really our spiritual conference. There's very little business per se, but it's more of a big gathering to bring the saints all together. It's wonderful. And then October is our business conference. That's when there's spiritual things too. We're always rallying our young people and doing youth activities and just bringing the saints together. But October's our business part of the conference as far as that goes.
Okay. So in the LDS church, it's generally Saturday, Sunday. It's a 2-day conference. In the Community of Christ, because they only do it with COVID screwed it up. It was I think they went 4 and now they're going to go 2 to get back on track. But it was like 8-9 days, I think.
Wow.
And so theirs was very interesting, very different from LDS General Conference in the fact that they would have what they would call legislation, and it was really interesting because
legislation. What does
that mean?
So,
for example, President Veazey, he announced that he was going to retire in 2 years at the last conference last April. And right after the conference, he had some serious health problem. I'm still not totally I'm not clear. I just talked to somebody from their church and she said, I don't know either.
Oh, that's helpful.
They're very hush-hush about it for whatever reason. But at any rate, he announced he was going to retire in 2 years. And he announced that they would discern who the next president would be, who's actually going to be a woman, Stacey Cram.
I saw that.
And so she will be officially, I think she's president designate for the next, it's going to be a year now. She was just called a few weeks ago. And so she will be officially installed as president next April, I believe. I might have to see if I can go to that again.
That'd be amazing.
And so so different, what we would call stakes, different mission centers will say, for example, this was really interesting to me.
Okay.
We want to apologize for our past practices with race. Now, of course, in the LDS church, we had a ban. The Community of Christ, our LDS church, never actually had a ban, but they did have, there were 2 things. There was one where the prophet Joseph Smith III had referred to what we would call a politically incorrect term of Negro. Of course, we don't use that term anymore. And so people wanted to decanonize the whole revelation because basically he had said, we're not going to deny blacks the priesthood, or he would say Negroes, but we're not going to be hasty in ordaining them because, we need to be careful about that. And so there was a big debate. Should we decanonize? I think it was their section 116, if I remember right. There was a debate on should they canonize it or decanonize it or not. And then there was another resolution where a different mission center said, we want to apologize on behalf of racism. And the strange thing was, so they would have, whereas, let it be resolved that this. Oh. And people would argue over the wording, over the whereases for like hours. No, I don't like that wording. I like this wording. Okay, well, let's vote on that. And people would vote and vote and vote and vote. And it would take like 2 days to get through a resolution.
Wow.
And one of the resolutions was, I thought was pretty interesting, and I couldn't understand why it got defeated.
Were you there the whole time?
I was there for the week. For
Wow.
yeah. And
Sounds grueling.
well, it was
I
because
mean,
my
it's
back was
interesting.
hurt.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
really in a lot of
and it's
pain.
good that people cared
Yeah.
about the resolution. So,
But yeah, so they were arguing about the resolutions, and then there was one resolutions, we want the church to put the scriptures online, which to me was like, why would anybody oppose this? And it got shot down, and I was like, are you kidding me?
what?
And
So we have an app. Look up the Bible and Book of Mormon on Apple or Google Play. It actually has tens and tens of thousands of downloads.
I have it on my phone.
Get a red letter edition of your Book of Mormon today through the Church of Jesus Christ.
But they were worried about the cost because they wanted to translate it into Spanish and French and English. And
Sure. That's a huge
and
endeavor.
So I could not believe that it got voted down. It was crazy to me. Didn't make any sense to me. But then I hear that they're going to do it anyway.
Okay.
And so when they talk about it as a legislative session, a new presiding bishopric was called. I guess you guys don't have a presiding bishopric?
No.
Okay.
No. The only thing that might look similar is like, so for our region breakdowns, we have a region president. Okay. And that reports to our church presidency. So you have your presiding elders that are overseeing the branches. They're reporting to a region president who's reporting to the church presidency. So it's all under the 12 and all under the church presidency, overseeing the general church as a whole. Yeah. And so, that is the bishopric, although we wouldn't use that word. Those are the overseers, to use the New Testament term, where, those are the overseers, per se. So that you would find in Scripture.
So in my understanding, in both the LDS and the RLDS position of presiding bishopric, they deal a lot with the finances of the church and real estate holdings and that sort of a thing.
Oh, okay.
And so it's a little different, I guess.
That's a little different.
Yeah,
it's a little different.
So, but they also called the first woman in India to be a 70.
Oh.
And that was voted. And so in the LDS church, of course, everybody can't fit in Salt Lake City. They have a giant conference center. But it's broadcast to everybody. And if you're outside of Utah, I mean, at home you can watch it on Utah, and you're supposed to sustain a new apostle or whatever. They do it as delegates. And so each congregation will send a delegate to the thing, and then the delegate will vote on behalf of the congregation. So it's very different.
Yeah.
And whereas in the LDS church, it's rare that anybody ever opposes anything. A new apostle, occasionally you'll get some crazies, but
Gotcha.
But in the community of Christ, like they will actually have voting machines, and like on the scripture resolution, put them online. They were like, okay, all in favor, say aye, all opposed, say nay. And they were like, we can't tell. We're actually going to vote. And it was like, I don't know what the final percentage was. It was like 51-49. Like, it was a super close vote.
Wow. Okay.
And so that's why I'm asking about your conferences.
Yeah.
Are they more LDS style or RLDS style? Or neither?
No, we do vote on things. We operate our business through our conferences and organize and map out. Now, a lot of things do happen by committee, and then it comes and gets passed on conference floor. So like there's a finance committee of the church. The presidency is involved in that. General church trustees are involved in that, and there's elected offices from the general church into those positions. That includes brothers and sisters on our finance committee. In fact, our primary treasurer per se of the general church, Sister Heather, so.
Oh,
yeah.
She's not a priesthood holder.
No, no, she's not.
That would be a no-no in my church.
Gotcha. So we have brothers and sisters in elected offices all throughout every level of the church, and that's wonderful for us. So none of those. By the way, I think one important thing to say here is that there's not a single paid person in the entire church.
Not even the president?
Trust me, not even the president.
Wow.
Yeah. So, no, everybody, we're tent makers. We're carpenters. We're a church that is a bootstrap church trying to spread and evangelize the glorious message of the restored gospel of Jesus Christ in these, the latter days. But nobody's paid.
But the church would pay for airfare and things like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
There's reimbursements, you know, for missionaries, but really not stipends per se, but reimbursements for expenses. Yeah. And I'm not going to say never a stipend. Like if we're planting a new missionary in Mexico into a new area, there might be a 3-month stipend, and then the brother's expected to get his job and then provide for himself. So there might be a transition period in the international fields a little bit, but it's with a phase out. It's never permanent. So it's a short term. Hey, we want to get you here, and then the expectation is you're going to find a job, you know, and work. But as far as conferences go, and back to your question at hand, I would say we're somewhere in the middle, maybe. You know, because things go out to committee, there's certainly times when everybody's raising their hand. And do people stream? We stream the spiritual parts of our conference, the meetings, the preachings, that gets streamed out. The elders and teachers, the closed meeting for the ministry, that's not publicly streamed or accessible around the church.
So when they're calling a new evangelist or apostle or something like that,
that's on the floor conference. That's for those that have made the trip and are part of the conference floor that day. Okay. And that vote would be for those that are physically present in the room. That's how we're operating today. Obviously, the world changed, and there's a lot more Zoom happening, and there is business happenings around the church through a lot of Zooms, and conference calls have always happened. But, you know, the actual general church activities and voting happens on the floor. It is open for discussion. There's open mics on the floor. It is everything that's getting passed is open for question, open for to be approved or disapproved. The apostles do not approve a single thing in the church. They can only recommend. The full authority of the priesthood of Jesus Christ lies within the complete priesthood body. So the apostles help lead us, and they may bring things to the floor for a vote, but the vote happens, including their vote as one vote per person. You know, all the priesthood elders and evangelists and apostles have a vote on conference floor and a voice, and all teachers have a voice on the floor. So that's our operations. I have watched revelations come to the floor and been turned down by the body. And I have been in meetings where revelations have come to the floor. And when it's a revelation of God, there is manifestations of the Spirit throughout the room. And tongues and singing in the Spirit and vision, and nobody wants to break for lunch. It's just a good moment. And that, or you got to go into like the finances, and we're like, I think everybody is like, do we have to do that right now? You know, this was pretty good. The Lord just like, sometimes we just take a moment because the Lord was with us, you know? So it's a blessing.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
So the headquarters are still in Monongahela.
Yeah, that is really a historical. There's a branch of the church in Monongahela. It is our headquarters. There's not a single conference in Monongahela we would not fit. Okay. So we have a world conference center. Excuse me. We have a world conference center in Greensburg, close by. You know, within 40 minutes of Monongahela, that fits. You know, probably could easily fit 500 people. I mean, probably significantly more than that, actually. And that's where our conferences are held.
Okay. How close is that to Pittsburgh?
Oh, it's fly into Pittsburgh and you're within an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a good chance that I'm coming in October.
I want you to come. Please come.
It's called the SSSR, Society for the Scientific Study of Religion.
Great.
Last year it was in Salt Lake City. Next year it's in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I would love to get a tour of the world headquarters.
Done.
That's awesome.
Done.
So.
We can make that happen. Yeah. Yeah. Let's plan it. And maybe if you're there in October, close enough to our conference time.
So the conference is like, I want to say, I don't think I can do the whole thing. I'm probably going to be there on a weekend.
Yeah.
Like October 18th or something, I want to say.
We would probably be before then.
Yeah.
I don't have the dates memorized, but
our general conference is usually the 1st in October and the 1st in April.
Usually
weekend.
We're usually around the 2nd, I think, weekend of October. We're close. Sometimes they overlap too. I don't, there is some flexibility there. It's something we vote on at conference.
All right. Maybe we can hit a Pirates game while I'm there.
That'd be cool.
Except for October,
they don't make the playoffs, though.
Series, though.
Yeah, they don't make the playoffs.
They don't have Barry Bonds anymore. Or Jim Leland.
No Roberto Clemente.
Or Clemente. Oh, man. That was a long time ago.
It's like.
All right. Well, anything else we've missed?
No, Rick, you're amazing. Thank you for your time. I don't know how you do it. It is a real blessing for me to be on, and you guys, Gospel Tangents gives me a platform to share my love, to share the church, share my love for the Lord, share our common love in the restoration. So thank you.
And I know you don't call yourself a Mormon, but I still call you my Mormon cousin.
Well, thank you, brother.
If you believe in the Book of Mormon, you're a Mormon cousin.
That's it. I'll take that. I'll take the association that comes for being connected to my brother Mormon in the text. Yeah.
And I guess we're not supposed to call ourselves Mormons, but I still do. I'm grandfathered in, I think. All right. I want to say Elder Josh Gehly, but you don't call yourself elder.
I'm not an elder.
Evangelist Josh Gehly, Thank you so much for being here on Gospel Tangents.
Thanks, Rick. I appreciate your time.
Thanks. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Josh Gehly, an evangelist for the Church of Jesus Christ. I would encourage everybody to check out his book, Witnessing Miracles. Like I said, he quotes a lot of LDS leaders and other things. So it's very interfaith in the fact that I don't think you'll find anything unusual in it, whether you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So it's a great book. Thanks for listening, and I hope you to continue to enjoy Gospel Tangents. Consider becoming a Patreon or go to gospeltangents.com/shop, and you can get a cool tie, a hat, or even a nice mug. You can also get a sweatshirt. So check it out at gospeltangents.com/shop.